stop searching for closure. The person you cannot stop thinking about will never give it to you, and even if they could, it would not free you. The world tells you that love means holding on, that devotion is measured by how long you suffer, that letting go is the same as admitting you never truly cared. But the ancient philosophers knew something far more liberating. They understood that the deepest love requires the loosest grip, that peace does not come from possessing what you cherish, but from cherishing what you cannot possess, with open hands and an unshakable center within yourself. Today, we uncover the Stoic art of letting go, not the cold detachment the world imagines, but the warm, wise practice of reclaiming your mind, your energy, and your life from someone who was only ever meant to be a chapter, not the entire story. You know what it feels like. You wake up thinking about them. You fall asleep replaying conversations. Your phone becomes a trap, every notification a false hope. You analyze every word they ever said, every moment you shared, searching for answers that never come. You tell yourself you are processing, but what you are really doing is circling, around and around the same thoughts, the same questions, the same ache that refuses to quiet. This is rumination dressed as love. This is obsession wearing the mask of connection. And the weight of it is exhausting, not because you feel too much, but because you have made your peace, dependent on someone who is no longer there to give it. Perhaps you check their social media compulsively, even though it causes pain. Perhaps you lose sleep as your mind refuses to quiet, cycling through what-ifs until the early hours. Perhaps you craft imaginary conversations in your head, things you wish you had said or still hope to say. Perhaps you have made someone else responsible for your happiness, your peace, your sense of self-worth. And the stakes are higher than a broken heart. The real danger is a life lived in the shadows of someone else's presence. Days bleeding into weeks, months, perhaps years, waiting for closure that may never arrive. Meanwhile, your own life passes unlived. The people who are here, who love you now, become invisible while you chase a ghost. You lose yourself in pursuit of someone who cannot complete you. And worst of all, you mistake this suffering for depth, this obsession for love. 2,000 years ago, a philosopher named Epictetus was born into slavery. He lost everything he loved. He was beaten, exiled, and stripped of any external security the world could offer. And yet he discovered a truth that has freed countless minds across the centuries. He wrote, "Never say of anything, 'I have lost it,' but only, 'I have returned it.' Has your wife died? She is returned. Has your child died? It is returned." This was not coldness, this was clarity. Epictetus understood that every person, every joy, every connection we are given is not a possession, it is a loan, a gift from life itself, offered to us for a time, and eventually, inevitably, returned. When we understand this, we stop feeling robbed. We start feeling grateful. Grateful for the time we had, rather than bitter about the time we lost. Epictetus also taught a practice that sounds harsh at first but carries profound wisdom. He said, "When giving your wife or child a kiss, repeat to yourself, 'I am kissing a mortal.' Then you will not be so distraught if they are taken from you." He was not telling us to love less. He was teaching us to love more truly, to love with full awareness of impermanence, to cherish each moment precisely because it will not last forever. The Stoics loved deeply and unashamedly. This is impossible to argue against. However, they did so in their own unique way. For a Stoic, always concerned with the distinction between the free person, master of themselves and in control of their mind, and the slave, conquered by external circumstances, they loved but wanted to make sure they were not driven to madness by this love. Consider Marcia, a Roman noblewoman of remarkable character. She had proven her strength when her own father was persecuted. Yet when she lost her beloved son, Metilius, grief consumed her entirely. For 3 years, longer than most Romans would consider appropriate, she remained in mourning, unable to release her sorrow. She withdrew from life. She refused consolation from friends. She rejected distraction through books or activities. She had, in essence, made grief her companion, perhaps because letting go of her sorrow felt like letting go of her son entirely. The philosopher Seneca wrote her a letter that would become one of the most famous consolations in ancient literature. He did not tell her to stop feeling. He acknowledged the depth of her pain, but he offered her a different way to carry it. He wrote, "If fate can be overcome by tears, let us bring tears to bear upon it. Let every day be passed in mourning, every night be spent in sorrow instead of sleep. But if the dead cannot be brought back to life, however much we may beat our breasts, if destiny remains fixed and immovable forever, then let our futile grief be brought to an end." Seneca reminded Marcia that her son was never hers to keep. He was a gift from the universe, a loan, not a possession. And he encouraged her to measure her son's life, not by its length, but by how it was lived. Marcia's story became a teaching example, not because she stopped loving her son, but because she learned to love him without being destroyed by his absence. The same principles apply to you, whether you are mourning a death, a breakup, a betrayal, or simply someone who chose to walk away. The path to peace is the same. You cannot control their presence. You can only control your response to their absence. The Stoics called this understanding preferred indifference. They held that external things in themselves neither contribute to nor detract from a happy life. Relationships, health, wealth, and reputation have value. They are preferred, but they are not the source of your peace. Such external things are neither good nor evil by themselves. It is how we evaluate them which makes them so for us. We do not need any particular external thing or things to be happy. This does not mean you should not want connection or love. It means you should not stake your entire well-being on something you cannot control. The only thing you have control over is how you show up, not what the other person feels, does, or says. This can be challenging because we often feel that because we are in a relationship with someone, they should behave a certain way because they belong to us. But as Epictetus reminds us, the object of your love is mortal. It is not one of your possessions. So how do you reclaim your mind? How do you break the cycle of obsessive thinking that keeps you tethered to someone who is no longer part of your life? The ancients left us more than philosophy. They left us a path to peace that most have forgotten. Before we get to the 5 practices that will change your morning routine, make sure to subscribe. Here are 5 practices rooted in Stoic wisdom that you can begin today. The first is called the returned, not lost reframe. When thoughts of this person arise, consciously shift the narrative. Instead of saying, "I lost them" or "they left me," say to yourself, "They were returned. They were never mine to keep. They were mine to love for a time." This is not denial, it is truth. If something is given to you that you appreciate, enjoy it fully, but also be mindful that nothing is yours to own for eternity. Enjoy life's blessings the way a weary traveler would enjoy a brief stay at a hotel. Practice this each time the obsessive thought begins. It interrupts the rumination cycle. The second is the morning mortality meditation. Each morning, before you check your phone, spend 5 minutes reminding yourself of impermanence. Epictetus taught, in the case of particular things that delight you or benefit you, or to which you have grown attached, remind yourself of what they are. Start with things of little value. If it is china you like, for instance, say, "I am fond of a piece of china." When it breaks, then you will not be as disconcerted. Apply this to the person you cannot stop thinking about. Remind yourself they were always mortal, always temporary, always changing. This is not pessimism, it is the truth that makes love precious. The third is the control inventory. Write 2 columns on a piece of paper. Label one within my control, label the other. Outside my control, be ruthlessly honest. Their feelings, their choices, their attention, none of these belong in your column. Your thoughts, your actions, your healing, these are yours. When a specific thought keeps appearing, break the situation down into these 2 categories. Actively choose to let go of what you cannot control and focus your energy on what you can. Do this weekly or whenever rumination intensifies. The fourth is the view from above. When perspective feels lost, when the obsession feels all-consuming, imagine your life from a great height, or from the perspective of 5 years in the future. Marcus Aurelius said, "Reflect often upon the rapidity with which all existing things sweep past us and are carried away. Ask yourself, in the grand sweep of my life, is this person truly my whole story? Or are they one chapter in a much larger book?" The fifth is scheduled reflection time. Instead of trying to banish thoughts of this person entirely, which often backfires, give yourself 15 minutes once a day to think about them. Then consciously close that mental door until tomorrow. When intrusive thoughts arise outside this window, gently redirect by telling yourself, "Not now. I have an appointment with this thought later." Often, by the time that appointment arrives, you will not feel as compelled to ruminate. What changes when you practice this? Gradually, the grip loosens. Not because you loved them less, but because you stopped confusing suffering with devotion. You begin to see clearly that rumination is not problem solving. Problem solving and planning are active coping strategies. Rumination involves rethinking situations, analyzing them, and replaying them without forming an action plan or feeling a sense of resolution. The transformed self does not forget. She remembers with warmth instead of anguish. She carries the love forward without being buried by it. She honors what was without sacrificing what could be. Seneca knew that grief should be grieved rather than immediately treated as a problem to be solved and done away with. He wrote, "I realized that your grief should not be intruded upon while it was fresh and agonizing, in case the consolations themselves should rouse and inflame it. For an illness, too, nothing is more harmful than premature treatment." The goal is not to feel nothing. The goal is to process emotion with wisdom rather than being enslaved by it. For if grief has withdrawn, merely beguiled by pleasures and preoccupations, it starts up again, and from its very respite gains force to savage us. But the grief that has been conquered by reason is calmed forever. You are not cold for wanting peace. You are not betraying anyone by reclaiming your mind. The greatest gift you can give to your past love is to become the fullest version of yourself, not a shadow haunted by what was, but a light moving forward into what can be. They are not your whole world. They never were. They were a precious part of it, a gift, on loan for a season. And now you have the most important work of your life ahead of you, becoming someone who can love that deeply again, without losing yourself in the process. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The person living rent-free in your mind was only ever a guest in your life. Honor the visit, release the grip, reclaim the home that is yours. 2,000 years have passed. The truths remain unchanged. Subscribe to her Stoic mind for more wisdom that transcends time. And tell us in the comments which ancient voice speaks most clearly to your life.